What is up, Aaron? It's your boy Alan back with another video, and in this one I'm going to share how much I spent in Japan while traveling Asia unemployed. So I spent 17 days in Japan, and I took all my credit card statements and my Venmo requests and put them into a spreadsheet, and I'm going to share those numbers with you. So number one is housing. I spent $1,100 on housing for 17 days. I went in March, which is the cherry blossom season of Japan, so housing is at more of a premium than if you went in a different month like winter. So most of my housing was between $70 to $100 a night, and then towards the end of my trip I was staying in a nicer spot, so it was like 100 plus a night, but I was splitting that room with some folks I was traveling with for that period of time. And what I noticed was the weekends obviously really expensive, so if hotels were really expensive and out of my price range above $100, I would go to hostels. So I stayed at the Wise Owl hostel in Shibuya for like a week, 4 or 5 days. And I stayed in the hostel almost 6 years ago when I first came to Japan, and I went back to it, so it was a bit nostalgic. But if I were to stay in hostels in any country, it would be Japan, just because the culture is really around cleanliness. They have a collectivism culture where they try not to disturb too many people. Mind you, I was in a hostel, so it's more travelers than actual Japanese people, but I do feel like that culture filters into the hostel, where I felt like people were really respectful. I never thought my items were gonna get stolen, or people were respectful of the noise, and it was pretty clean. Maybe that is different around different hostels in Japan, but that was my experience. And then on certain weekdays when I wanted my own private space, I would book hotels at these business hotels called Appa hotels, and these were relatively more affordable than some of the nicer spots. And don't get me wrong, it's actually a pretty nice spot. It's just most hotel rooms in Tokyo are small, and Appa hotels are pretty small, but not like capsule size small. Like, you get a bed, a desk, and a shower, everything you need. And those were really good. I stayed maybe 4 or 5 days in an Appa hotel, and then from there I was just bouncing around different hotels and areas. But that's housing. It's around 44% of my overall cost when I was in Japan. Next is transportation. Transportation spent $862, but the majority of that cost did come from my flight to Japan, which was $530. And then I booked a flight out of Japan to, I think it was Taiwan. That was only like around $200 or something. I'm not quite sure, maybe $150 to $200. In Japan, the subway system is very convenient. They charge you based off the distance you go, and that's how I got around. It's very intuitive. You just use Google Maps. They have a lot of accessible stations to get in and out across the city. So that's how I spent my travel budget. I took also a big part of that budget was the high-speed rails, and taking that from Tokyo to Kyoto. I think one ticket was around like $92, and the next train ticket to Kyoto to Osaka was like $22. But you could also not take the high-speed rail from Kyoto to Osaka. You could just take the regular subway path. It just takes a little bit longer, but it's like $5 instead of $22, which is another option. I did avoid taking Ubers and cabs in Japan. For some reason, they're really expensive. They're not dirt cheap, where you could do a 15-minute ride for $3 or $4. It would get kind of pricey, so I avoided that, and I was able to keep my transportation costs, I feel like, relatively tame, considering a lot of that cost was in the flight. So that was around 33% of my overall spend in Japan. And then for food, I did a lot of challenge videos of eating at 7-Eleven, Family Mart, and Lawson's, and the food quality in these convenience stores are really fresh and high quality, So it's not like I was having a lower quality of life or meal eating at these restaurants. Even some of these 7-Elevens, Lawson's, and Family Mart meals were better than some like random spots in Japan I was at. So I really actually enjoy eating at these convenience stores, but Japan also has really great food options. You know, you can do fine dining. I didn't really do fine dining at all, but they got those options. I think I did one time with some family out in Osaka. It was really good. And then there's like these mid-level restaurants you can get sushi at. I had some pretty good, I forgot what they call it. They're like Japanese like bar izakayas. Those are really good. They're a little bit more mid-tier price. I guess it depends on the izakaya, but I went to a nicer one, a mid-tier price, and we got yakitoris, pretty cheap. But overall, my food budget was pretty tame. Most of my meals came from 7-Eleven, Family Mart, and every once in a while when I would eat with some friends or some family that I had in town, we would go to nicer spots. But on my solo time, I was eating mostly ramen, which is really cheap and pretty high quality, and it's convenience store food. And then for entertainment, I frankly did not spend that much money on entertainment. I wasn't really going clubbing or hitting bars. And as a solo travel kind of guy, I didn't really shop much because I was making YouTube videos and I felt like that's the best souvenir. And I also spend my time editing videos, filming videos, sitting at coffee shops, walking around the city. I did a lot of the tourist activities when I first went to Japan, and I didn't feel the need to do them again. And usually when I travel, I like to travel like a local, and I don't really hit all the touristy spots. Sometimes I do shop, and that's where the cost can kind of get up there, but I didn't shop at all this time. So for entertainment, it was, I basically walk around, sit at coffee shops, edit videos, and that's how I entertain myself. And then I did go to this place called Orange Gym Rats in Japan, and that day pass was $20 or something, so it was a good amount of my budget. It was quite expensive. I only went to the gym once in Japan. For some reason in Japan they don't have affordable gyms to go to where you could just pay $3 or $4 and work out. So I paid $20 to get one workout in my whole time in Japan. And then moving down to miscellaneous, a lot of that cost was actually an eSIM cost, and then I had to repair my camera one time at this Japanese store because I got dust on the sensor of my mirrorless camera. And then I had some subscriptions that got charged that I was already subscribed to actually before the trip, but that was around 7% of my budget. So the grand total for 17 days in Japan for me was $2,600. And I have to say, I think that's pretty cost efficient because I think last time I went to Japan and I had way less money. I spent around $3K. Mind you, I was going out more and going to bars and clubs, and that really runs up the cost, and I was doing more shopping. So I think my budget last time I was there was around like $3,300 or $3,500 when I spent 2 weeks. So wanted to share my costs on how much it costs to travel. I feel like this is a pretty reasonable cost, especially because I'm unemployed. Just wanted to share insights on how much it costs for me to travel to Japan. If anybody's interested in going to Japan and is trying to do it on a budget, this hopefully gives you an idea on how much things cost. It did help that I'm spending American dollars and Japanese yen, so the value of the yen is lower, so the American buying power is higher, and I was able to get better value things, and the dollar just goes a lot further. I'm gonna probably make a series of these videos of how much I spent in Taiwan for a month, and then how much I spent in Vietnam for 2 weeks, and then China for 7 days. Thanks for tuning into this video. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.